Today's lesson, we'll be talking about section 6.6, the law of cosines. Here, the law of cosines has three different ways of writing it, depending on the information. It's basically all the same formula, where you have a side that you don't know equal to two sides that you don't know, and those sides are squared, minus 2 times those sides, times the cosine of the angle opposite to the side that you don't know. So like if I'm talking about any old triangle, let's say A, okay, so if I didn't or wanted to know this side, then I would use these sides in congruence with whichever one matched it, and then this would be the angle that I would use for the cosine. Okay? Now, law of cosines is used for triangles that have SAS and SSS, so all three sides or two sides with an angle in between them. So here's an example of a problem where you're given all three sides. So if I'm given these three sides, then that means I need to find one of the angles. So using my law of cosines, and it doesn't matter which one you start with. So let's say I want to find angle A. So 5 squared equals 8 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 8 times 12 times the cosine of that angle. So angle A. So here 25 equals 64 plus 144 minus 2 times 8 times 12 gives me 192 cosine of A. Okay, now here's a trap that most kids fall into. I see three numbers right in a row, and so most kids want to add them all together to get one number, but notice that 192 is multiplied to cosine of A, so they are technically not like terms with 144 and 64. So I can't add them yet. But I can put 64 and 144 together. That gives me 208 minus 192. Then I subtract the 208 to the other side. It gives me a negative 183 equals negative 192 cosine of A. I would need to divide both sides by 192. So here cosine of A will equal 0.953, and then using the inverse to help me find the angle for A, that gives me 17.61 degrees. Okay, so that's how I find the first angle. Now, you have a choice from here. You can go back and use law of cosines, which you have to check to make sure that there's not the ambiguous case involved in that, or you can continue using law of cosines to help you find another angle, and then from there finding like 180 minus the two angles you found to find the third. Okay, I'm going to choose to use the law of cosines, and I'm going to use that to find B, just so I don't have to check to see if there's an ambiguous case. So here, let's say I want to find angle B this time, so 8 squared equals 5 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 5 times 12 cosine of B. So here 64 equals 25 plus 144 minus 120 cosine of B. I'm going to put 25 and 144 together. That gives me 169. Subtract both sides by 169. So then 64 minus that gives me negative 105. Then I want to divide both sides by a negative 120. So cosine of B will equal 0.875. So the inverse of cosine will give me an angle of 28.96. So now, to find angle C, I need to take 180 minus 17.61 minus 28.96. So for angle C, that would get me 133.43, which makes sense because that side is the biggest angle, it is opposite of the biggest side, so which is 12. So then there are my three angles. Okay. Next example, you're given one angle and two sides. So here, now you can choose to do whatever you want. You can find the angle of law of cosines, or you can choose to find the other side that's missing, whichever one you choose to do. Well, actually, I believe because you don't have that third side, you can't find anything other than the third side. So let's do that instead. So a squared is going to equal 10.5 squared plus 18 squared minus 2 times 10.5 times 18 times cosine of 46.5. So 10.5 squared is 110.25 plus 18 squared and 2 times 10.5 times 18 gives me 378. Okay. Now simplifying this a little bit more. And now I'm just going to use the entire thing in the calculator. And you quite certainly could have plugged it all at the beginning. I kind of want to show a little bit more work. So 174.05, square root that. Remember, we're talking about triangles, so we have to have positive distance, so it can't be the negative value of the square root. So it gives me 13.19 for a side. Okay, so now I need to find another angle, so I'm going to use law of cosines. You could certainly use law of sines, but remember you have to check for the ambiguous case. So let's say I want to find angle B. So 10.5 squared equals my 13.9 squared plus 18 squared minus 2 times 13.19 times 18 times cosine of 40 of angle B. Okay, so here that gives me that 13.19 squared is that 174.05 that we were talking about. 18 squared again was 324. Here though, 2 times 13.19 times 18 gives me 474.84 cosine of B. So then putting my stuff together, that gives me 498.05. And then subtracting So cosine of b is equal to 0.8166. Inverse of that. Remember, when I do this, I leave everything in the calculator, so I never reduce anything in the calculator. I just write it down as reduced. So that's only to be as much exact as possible. So now I have two angles, so now I just need to take 180 minus 35.24 and then minus the 46.5 that I started with. So that'll give me so for angle C it's 98.26. So now I have my two angles and the side that I was missing for this triangle. There is another portion talking about finding the area of a triangle using trig to help you out if you're given all three sides. I will do that on a separate video. Have fun.